Today's episode is brought to you by Dr. Jameson Junkenstein.
Drop the beat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Highnoon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, The Blevins, and with me, as always, is Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much. How's it going, everyone?
I guess I'll answer for everyone. We're all doing great.
All right. Yeah, I guess I can't talk to all the listeners. But
You can. They're just going to have to answer through me. Finally, I get to speak for everyone, just like I always do. But we've got a great show lined up for you today. I've always wanted to say that. That's what they say at like the beginning of every SNL. Like every monologue is like, "We've got a great show for you lined up today." It's like, do they? When do they not have a
I
good
never
show?
believe them. I never believe them when they say it.
At least I'm being truthful this time.
I believe you.
Yeah,
it's a fact.
That's because I 100% am. But we actually do, mostly because the good part of the show does not necessarily involve 100% us. That is what is good about the show. Later on in the show, we had the privilege and the opportunity to interview Mr. Mangachu from Tempostorm. Super cool guy, super great opportunity for us, and I mean, let's be honest, super great opportunity for him. No, I'm kidding. But really, this is where he can look back and be like, okay, I hit rock bottom. Sometimes you need to hit rock bottom before you can bounce back up. But yeah, so no, in a little bit we are going to be playing that, and before then we've got plenty of tournaments to talk about. There's just so much stuff, and it's just Halloween. We're just going to talk about Halloween.
Yeah, mostly Halloween. There was a big tournament
That's true. There actually was.
Yeah, the APAC premiere happened. We'll definitely give you all the results of that. However, if you're in the NA region like we are, you'll know that it aired at a time that made it very difficult to watch. So we were kind of left with VODs, and I know I had a very busy week, and I think the Blevins did as well. So.
I did, and I always wake up to my Discord on my phone and Slasher being like, tune in 5 minutes, the tournament. I'm like, oh, let's watch. Oh God, it's 3 a.m.
Right.
And I have to go to work in the morning. So no, did not get to do that. But let's move on to what we normally talk about in the beginning. We've got some housekeeping. A couple of things I want to put, and I flip flop like every week on what we want to focus on. This week I want to focus on the YouTube. We're getting ever so close. We're inching in. I want that stupid custom URL. We need like under 20 followers. So guys, now I'm begging. If you guys listen to the show and you appreciate the show even a little bit, head over to YouTube, type in Highnoon Podcast, subscribe, and then I can tell you to go to youtube.com/Highnoon Podcast. That's what I want.
Yeah, and listen, even if you don't like the show or respect what we do, but you just kind of listen anyways, and you want us to shut up about it, that's another really good reason to do it. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
That's true. I'm going to take my cue from NPR during their pledge drive, and I'm just going to keep talking until you pay me to shut up. And by pay me, I mean subscribe to YouTube. So that's that. In that vein, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a reason, just a touch of a reason to go to the YouTube, because potentially right after this episode, I'm going to be opening up some loot boxes, some Halloween loot boxes, because I need to open them now, because if I think about how much BlizzCon is going to cost me, I'll never spend a dime again in my entire life. So I need to do that before I actually think about that. So we're going to buy some loot boxes and open them on stream, have a nice fun time of that, and then I'll upload the video to YouTube, hopefully to youtube.com/Highnoon Podcast. But that doesn't exist yet.
There will be a second Halloween loot box opening video as well, featuring myself. However, I think I'm going to wait and let one more paycheck come by before I make any commitments to how much. Let's see how much money I have once I have as much money as I can make before I have to pay my rent.
Yeah. Oh, I completely forgot about. I'm
Don't pay rent.
I'm flying out to California. I didn't book a ticket back. I didn't have enough money, so And my plane ticket money back has been pre-spent on BlizzCon merch, which came out. I narrowed my list down to just under $300, so that was good.
Not bad.
No, it is bad. It's very bad, actually.
Yeah, but only for you.
Yeah, it is for me. But speaking of the YouTube, speaking of kind of BlizzCon, speaking of giveaways and stuff, we still have a giveaway going on. The Highnoon Showdown. We're still getting some trickled in entries, but guys, there's really not that many entries. There's a lot of entries. There's not a lot of entrants. So if you guys head over to Twitter at Highnoon Podcast on Twitter, check our pinned tweet. All the details are there. The Gleam link is there. Sign up and enter because you have the chance to win an exclusive. It's not really that exclusive. An inclusive Highnoon Podcast t-shirt. I can say that there's only there's under 5 in existence right now. So
yeah, it is a very limited print run on those t-shirts until people start buying more. But you can be one of. It's just there's not even dozens of us out there with this t-shirt, right?
That's true. You don't even have one.
I don't know because they put out Halloween and now I got to buy loot boxes and I just don't. I'm just still catching up on everything from when I was unemployed.
Right now it's me.
Yep.
Peach.
Yep.
Hexagrams.
Yep.
And my dad.
Oh, your dad was one of the ones I didn't know who it was. I think there's one
other mystery one that I don't know who it is.
Yeah, there are a couple that have been bought by people that have not, sent anything, which is totally fine. Obviously, we would, however, love to see a picture of you sporting the shirt out in public with all your nerdy friends who are jealous of your nerdy T-shirt.
I've gotten multiple compliments on that shirt, by the way.
Yeah, it's a good one, and I see it every time Hex casts something because it covers the logo on his chair from the people that don't sponsor their tournaments anymore. So
yeah, exactly. So guys, check out that tweet, check out the Gleam, enter. You guys actually have a really good chance. There's like 15 people, I think, something like that, like 20, maybe 20 people that have entered. So I'd rather give it to you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I'd rather give it to you.
Not him.
So enter. Not him. You. But let's go on. Oh, and also speaking of giveaways, so like I mentioned before, I am going to BlizzCon in just a couple of weeks, and there is some sweet BlizzCon merch, and more specifically, there's some sweet Overwatch merch. And what I'd love to do is buy some of it and give it away to you guys. There's a couple of BlizzCon exclusives that are Overwatch, and I want to get them all for myself, but I also love to give a couple away to you. So guys, please tweet at us. Let us know what you want me to pick up. I'm probably going to pick up a couple of things here or there, a plush, a hat, a mug. I don't know, whatever I think is cool. Tell me something that's cooler, and I'll get it. And we might not give it away right now. We'll save something, but in the future, what better things to give away than Overwatch stuff from BlizzCon?
Yeah, and it'll be a much cooler giveaway if it's not something that was just given away to like thousands and thousands of people. Right, right. So, we might sit on some of the items that we buy for a little while, not literally sit on them because that would deteriorate the value a little bit. But there's a lot of really cool things. I don't even know what to call it. The turnip plushie, or I don't know what it's called in the game. Pachimari or something.
Pachimari, something like that.
Gotcha. Well, it's super cool. It's awesome. I'm actually going to be having you pick me one up as well because they're just that cool. And it feels to me like one of those things that if you just like randomly turn around and put it on eBay in 2 years while the game's still really popular, like before it dies out, like it's just going to go crazy. That or they'll decide to put it in mass production and sell it on the regular.
They don't usually do that for BlizzCon exclusives. Like they'll do that for things that you can initially get at BlizzCon, like my Overwatch hat, for instance, you can just get on the website. But stuff that is BlizzCon exclusive, they usually keep that stuff exclusive. And then there's also Bastion's little birdie as well as a plush. Ooh. So Ganmeedy or whatever his name is, I don't know. But there's some cool stuff. Let us know what you want me to pick up and see what I can do. But enough housekeeping. Actually, one more piece of housekeeping. We had one person mention that they tried to leave us an iTunes review, but iTunes was a hot piece of garbage like it normally is. So, guys, if you're having trouble with iTunes, I guess let iTunes know. I'd say
Well,
let us know. Yeah, let us know.
We'll put some pressure on them in any way we possibly can to, hey, fix this. You're literally hurting our show. Why do we host it here? Sort of conversation with them, and
because we have to.
Yeah, we do kind of have to. Podcasts that don't live on iTunes die horrible deaths, as we've learned from our past podcasting experience.
True. But yeah, so guys, we do. We do still would love to have more iTunes reviews. It is podcast gold, and we want podcast gold. So definitely need that, and we appreciate you guys for trying. I forget who it was that let us know that it wasn't working, but I would just say give it another try. Try it on a different platform. Sometimes mobile doesn't work right. Sometimes computer doesn't work. I don't know. I'll just give it a try, but we really appreciate that. So let's move on to what did we do last week? Deathblow, what'd you do, man?
Well, it was shortly after we recorded the last episode that the Halloween patch hit, which included the changes from Widowmaker, things like that. Conveniently, this was not long after I really started to vamp up my streaming and get things going with that again. So I had a couple of streams where all I did was play that Brawl, and I just said that. All I did was play the Brawl mode for a while because it's actually really fun. It's almost more like a new game mode to me instead of than the other ones where they just like tweak some rule in some stupid way that's never relevant. Lucio Ball was another really cool one. I just had owned Rocket League already, so it kind of missed me. But I'm really liking how they're getting innovative with these brawls and doing some cool things. And I'm wondering if they're toying with the idea of a casual, similar mode, like a more of a permanent horde mode. That would be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I never played a game where a horde mode was popular, but I'd heard a lot about them. So this was one of the first ones I really got to delve into and try to enjoy. And I don't have the door hasn't taken damage achievement yet, nor do I have the hard mode achievement yet. So
I need both of those too. Maybe we can get them after this loot box opening.
Maybe there's a reason we don't have them and we're bad.
I mean, that's definitely true too.
That's not a non-zero.
Those aren't mutually exclusive. But yeah, no, I've had a ton of fun with this new Brawl. It's been really fun. I have played games where horde mode was popular, namely Gears of War, where I believe the game mode name came from, if I recall correctly. Yeah, this mode for Overwatch is really fun. I really like it. I like the theme more than anything. If you stripped off the fluff, I think it would kind of suffer because there's really only a couple of types of enemies. There's the bosses, there's the Junkrat tire, and then there's two types of enemies. That is a very low amount of enemies, and there's only a limited cast that you can pick from as well. So it's definitely horde mode light, but it's also meant to be that because it's a seasonal
the Overwatch style, small digestible bits of gameplay. The games are meant to
test
be
it out,
super
see
long
how people like it. Let these random idiots on Highnoon podcast tell us how much we like it, and then maybe we'll put it in the game later. I mean, it has nothing to do with us, but people have been liking it, at least from what I've seen. I personally like it, and I generally don't. Well, actually, no, I loved Lucio Ball too, so. We, as an entity, despise brawls across all games, although I haven't actually played Heroes of the Storm Brawl yet. But hated Hearthstone Brawl for the most part. Like, I'd say over 90% of the brawls in Hearthstone are garbage, right? Can we agree on that?
Oh, yeah.
Like
that's
the Ragnaros one was
pretty fun.
The Ragnaros one was kind of fun because it was super different. And then it was all downhill from there. Remember the Ragnaros Nefarian one? Yeah.
I do. It was interesting, yeah. We had fun with that in an after show one day.
That is true. But besides that, it's garbage. This seems really fun, and it definitely again, we talked about it before. It's nice to see that the team is willing to diverge so much from standard gameplay, which is really great. So, real quickly, what I've been doing, I also have been streaming and playing Halloween Overwatch. What do you want from me? Obviously, that's what everyone's been doing. We didn't even need to have this segment. But let's talk about what you guys have been doing. A couple of things that we had from our community. Our regular dose of Overwatch Today memes came out. We got a Highnoon podcast. Got them feels, though. I cry every time I see Harambe meme. So good.
Yeah, we are told our last episode was chock full of memeable content, so we're glad we were able to entertain at least one person who said that. So,
two, because I was also one of the people that thought that while I was saying it. There were a lot of good quotes from last episode, actually, but yeah. So really, really looking forward to those memes every time. And another thing that actually happened mere hours before the show. So I was on Twitter, stalking Twitter at work like I always do. I mean, I definitely don't for people who are watching from where I work.
right.
But no.
Model employee.
Yeah, I've got breaks. I can go on Twitter whenever I want. But I'm on Twitter and I see someone on Twitter who I'm not even going to look up because it's going to take too much time. And they had some sort of Japanese name, I think. They animated a picture of Tavik, like a little like chibi anime style Tavik picture, and it said Heart Tavik. So obviously, naturally, I'm like, I tweeted all of them and said, I want one that says Pluppy, hashtag Pluppy lives. And they obliged. So we got ourselves a picture, a chibi picture of Pluppy, the Plupster, the Pluppinator. And if I need to like reach out to this person and be like, can you draw me a picture of ZP wearing a luchador mask that says Pluppy on it? Because I feel like that's got to happen at some point. I'm still holding out hope that at the Overwatch World Cup, that's going to happen. I think it will. You can tell that we are so chock full of content today. But let's move on to some actual content. We did actually have a couple of tournaments to talk about today. We had the APAC Premier main event playoffs. So the APAC Premier, Asia Pacific Premier, featuring some EU NA teams, as well as a number of Chinese teams. I don't think this had Korean teams. I think these were Chinese teams.
I don't know.
Can't confirm or deny. They were Asia Pacific teams. We know that.
Honestly, I thought the two had their own separate like qualifiers for it, and then they met in the finals.
You very well may be right. But so the playoffs included NRG, Lunatic High, Rogue, aka the Plupster, and NGA. And in the finals, Rogue won against Lunatic High 4-1. So one of the first tournaments that at least I remember seeing that had a best of 7 finals. That was
Yeah, also one thing I noticed about that tournament as well was in the event of a draw on a map, they did not go to a King of the Hill tiebreaker. They started the map over again. And I love that because I really think it's important to, when a team picks a map, I think it's really, really important that the team that's better on that map win the round, not the team that is better on the King of the Hill that was predetermined to go to in the event of a tie. I don't like that way of figuring it out. I understand it condenses things a little bit, and for some tournaments like weeklies or something like that, it's perfectly fine. But I think in the event of a big tournament, a finals, a LAN event, something like that, where the running time isn't a bad thing, it's just more content, more time, your sponsors have their names out there, just things like that. I don't think you should be kind of capping things off on a map and going somewhere else. I mean, when the teams decide they want the first round to be the best player on, Numbani was the one that drew out in the main event there. The best team on Numbani needs to be the one that walks away from it. So I really like the way they handled that as well.
I'd love to hear Hex's opinion as a tournament organizer and someone who's there for hours and hours and hours and hours behind the camera and being entertaining and doing the camera work and all that stuff. I'd love to hear what he has to say about prolonging tournaments for tournament's sake.
Well, like I said, it's only the big ones. So, if he's there alone by himself for 12 hours, that's not what happens at a big event. They have a rotation on the desk.
True.
There's other people handling the behind the scenes. The casters are just watching and commentating and things like that. So that's why I was trying to be specific and fair to the smaller tournaments with my analysis, because I do get it, and it's not a deal breaker or anything like that. I'm not as passionate about it as I was the hero limit conversation or anything like that. It's just a matter of slight preference, really.
Hashtag bring back Twinston.
Yeah.
So we also saw the Apex Season 1 League. Not done yet. This is I believe a 12-week. I believe this is a 12-week league. So I just wanted to go over some of the undefeateds and kind of notable non-undefeateds. Just a couple of notes from the tournament. So we have in the undefeateds, we have Flash Lux, BK Stars, Envious, Death Blows Phone, Luxury Watch Blue, and Runaway are all undefeated. And it's worth noting that some of these teams, including Deathblow's Phone, have only played one round. Some of them have played two. So it's really early on. It's not...
Excuse me, my phone is 0-2. Thank you very much.
Yeah, your phone is definitely 0-2.
It's winless. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, for sure. And then we also have Reunited in there at 1-1, and we have Kong Du, who I believe we've seen in some of the opens. I think. Yes. No. Maybe.
Luxury Watch.
We have. I remember hearing Kong Du specifically in one of the tournaments. I know for a fact they've played in a non-APAC tournament before.
Gotcha.
Regardless, I know they've played on EU/NA at some point. Their own too, so that was kind of interesting. So, we saw, we kind of predicted that, well, maybe not us specifically, a little bit of us specifically, but basically every single person in the world that's not actually on the EU/NA teams has been like, well, Korea, China, they're coming. They're going to, well, specifically South Korea, but they're coming. They're going to take over Overwatch. We're going to lose Overwatch. It's going to be all Korea all the time, just like basically every other esports. And it's not necessarily panning out to be like that. So it'll be interesting. I mean, let's keep things in perspective here. The scene, these tournaments, everything still very much so in its infancy.
Yes.
Making any sort of judgment right now is really kind of silly to do, but that's what we're here for. So we have to. But it's nice to, at least for the time being, see that it's not like, oh, well, Luxury Watch, greatest team ever, never going to lose another game ever. We've already had multiple iterations of that sort of legacy. With Envious at one point in time and the old IDDQD, the real team that always went undefeated, never lost. They just lost their players, I guess. But no, it's interesting. We haven't seen the takeover yet, even though everyone keeps predicting that it's going to happen.
Yeah, I was a little preoccupied while you were talking, so I apologize if I repeat anything you said. But I did hear you say it is in its infancy, and they got a later start than we did. They didn't pick things up in the beta phase quite as fast. I don't even know. It took them longer to even get access to the beta and them to open up an Asian beta server. So there's definitely an advantage right now for the EU and the NA side of things. They've just been around longer. The teams have better chemistry, and I think that really showed. Like I believe I said earlier, the only thing I've gotten to see so far is the finals, and they really they look like a better team. They look like a more complete team with better strategies. They weren't, leaps and bounds better, but they were able to pull out Bastion on King of the Hill and win the point. So that's not something we really see much anymore, I don't think, over on the EU and NA side. We see teams try it on occasion. I just can't really even remember the last time I'd seen it work. And it's always that same point on Lijiang, right, with the bridge and the two doors on either side of the point. So, it was definitely a great tournament, and it's just a phenomenal, really way to compare the two regions and how things are. And I thought, considering the amount of time that we've gotten for a head start, I think all those teams acquitted themselves, without having seen them, obviously. Like NRG didn't win the tournament. I'm assuming it was double elimination or they weren't in the finals. So they acquitted themselves well. They were able to compete, and there was no real large skill gap. It's just, I think, when it comes down to the top end of things, it becomes much more about that team synergy rather than the raw play skill and mechanical skills. So
yeah, but I mean, eventually, given enough time, that those should mesh, and then eventually you're going to need both, right? Like,
yes,
the good players are going to find teams. The best players in the world are going to find teams that they stick with. Theoretically, at least we'd think so, unless they're like super toxic or something and they can't stay on a team. But you'd think eventually we're going to find these teams that are just like, they have the best players ever, and they're playing as a team, 8, 10, 12 hours a day in their team house. Like, that's what we're expecting to see. That just hasn't happened in Korea yet, or at least it hasn't had enough time to really reap the rewards of that happening in Korea. So interesting, very exciting to see what's going to be happening in this, now that we're starting to finally see the East meets West. It's very interesting to see that. So let's move on. We've also got we've got the MGA tournament. So the Masters Gaming Arena, the event that the finals are going to be played live in London. We have the Americas region winner in Rise Nation. They won. The end. They won the Americas region. We're also going to see the European region, the Asia Pacific region, and I believe there might be one other region, or there's a couple other regions that are going to be playing and representing their region in the grand finals in London in December. So another interesting, like, larger scale tournament. We talked about it before, like Rise Nation won yesterday or today, but when they play in those grand finals, what Overwatch looks like may very well be extremely different from what it looks like now. Namely, the likely inclusion of a new hero.
yes.
Yeah. We checked it. We checked it earlier today, and if you're listening to this in podcast form on the internet later, you might already see what it is, but the Moment in Crime website is up to, what did you say, Death? 98.
I'll give you as of 23 seconds ago, it changed to 98.8197%. So we are, definitely by the time you're listening to this, it will have expired, and I'm honestly thinking that seems to be timed pretty well with midnight, whether it's here or the West Coast.
Yeah.
I don't know which timer it'll be, but I don't know that we'll get information at midnight, but I really do think once that timer hits 100%, that website's going to change, and I don't know what that'll tell us, because it really does feel like BlizzCon is the time when they would unleash the new character. Although maybe not. Maybe that's a slap in the face to everybody that goes to BlizzCon and would want to play the hero when it comes out. I don't know what they're thinking on it is. I don't have any frame of reference for that, but I don't know. It's upon us now. All the slow rolling and slow trolling by Blizzard for this ARG game that was associated with Sombra seems to at least be picking back up again. So whether or not we're getting a preview video or something like that, we'll have to wait and see. But it can't be long before we know a whole lot more about Sombra.
Right, and I'll pick up the Sombra conversation in just a little bit, because I don't want to derail the tournament too much, the tournament talk too much, like we've, by we, I mean me, has tended to do in the past. So congrats to Rise Nation. They'll be representing the Americas region. So that had Rise Nation. Team Liquid got second, FaZe Clan got third, Cloud9 got fourth. So that was the wrap up of that tournament. So we've got a couple of tournaments coming up. One is a huge one, and the other one is a more closely related to me specifically. I'll talk about that in a second. So Overwatch World Cup, we've been talking about it forever. Everyone's been talking about it forever. It's at BlizzCon. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be watching it. I'm going to try to meet some players and talk to everyone and stuff. Now that I've been rather cynical about the tournament up until now, but not every day closer to BlizzCon, I'm getting more and more excited for the tournament. So I think I'm full blown excited for it now. So I've got no more sour grapes for the tournament anymore.
Well, I think Hex goaded you a little bit too. Like his disappointment took us, I think, a little bit by surprise when we were talking about it when we had him on too. And I don't know, you seem to kind of just jump right up with him and be okay with it. I really hadn't. And I'm not out there like I don't like this tournament. You know, that's not me on forums or Reddit or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I don't go read any of those things either. So I was surprised that there were people out there that were upset about it because I viewed it the whole time as they were doing BlizzCon announcement and nothing was Overwatch, and the website launched and you could look at the schedule and there was no Overwatch, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, there's not going to be anything Overwatch at this. So the fact that they threw anything into me was just a huge boost. So I'm just like still even now riding just my relief and my excitement that Overwatch will be played as an esport at the convention at all. So I don't know. I think that might have been why I was a little more lenient on it than than at least you guys were.
Yeah, and I mean now, if you just look at the merch store, for the BlizzCon like exclusive merch store, there's a lot of Overwatch stuff. Like Overwatch is probably going to be the biggest thing at BlizzCon. Honestly, it was one of the biggest things at BlizzCon last year.
Yeah, its popularity has really taken off. It's not rare for Blizzard to do this, but to like have such hype leading up to a game and then to match it and not be at all a letdown. Like they've really just kind of built off the initial huge hype that was surrounding the game. Yeah. And it's really just taken off. You know, you see those numbers, and I don't see them with regularity, and I don't watch the reports as they come out, but like Overwatch overtaking League of Legends in the Korean internet cafes for play hours and things like that. Like, that's a big deal. That says a lot. And the game is just hugely popular. So whether they were playing it or not, they were bound to have a lot of news. We were bound to see a new map video or, you know what I mean, something along those lines, get some idea of some of the heroes that are in the pipeline and get some cool behind the scenes stuff. But like I said, I'm just glad to get people used to watching it. You know, you've got people that are going there for the StarCrafts and the other games that are especially
the other games that play there,
especially WoW, you know, that's gotten such a resurgence off the last expansion that you'll have a lot of those people come back that maybe haven't been there in 2 or 3 years. So it's a big opportunity to grab some of those people, even if not as players, as viewers, because there's a big market and a big demand for just attracting people that don't play the game to watch it. So
I'm like getting excited just thinking about the opening ceremony right now, and it's not for like weeks. Like I'm shaking right now with anticipation. So and in that vein, guys, if any of you are going to be at BlizzCon and you want to meet up or something, you know, tweet at me at @the_Blevins and we can meet up. Or if you see me, you'll see my #sellout shirt that I'll probably be wearing most of the days. You know, feel free to come up and say hi. I'd love to meet you guys and chat and, you know, shamelessly plug the podcast in front of you, even though you're already watching. But last tournament I wanted to talk about that's upcoming. It's a tournament that is closer to me. Like I said, it is the EGF College Series, and that might not be what the actual official name of it is, but the organization that I write for, EGF, Electronic Games Federation, is launching their, I believe, their first Overwatch series with some actual like college esports teams. So like University of Alabama versus like I don't know what the actual teams are. I don't have a lot of the actual details yet. I just saw some initial stuff because they were looking for some people for it. And I asked my good friend Tyler, who is the CEO, and I'm like, hey, let me know the details, and I'll talk about it and promote it on the show. And he was like, yeah, I'll get those to you. So he hasn't even gotten them to me yet. I don't think everything is set in stone necessarily yet, but I wanted to get that out there because I think that's going to be a really cool series. Like, we haven't really seen college Overwatch.
No, and we've talked about this. I don't know if it was on the Overwatch podcast or if this was on a previous episode of this one, but we've talked about how there's been, like, everybody knows how to root for their favorite
college.
Their favorite college, yeah. Like everybody, they have their favorite NCAA team that'll carry over into basketball, into football, all those things. So it's great that they're getting the college group involved, because that helps people decide who to root for, and that makes everything way more exciting when you have a horse in the race. You know, you are that much more likely to watch it all the way through and things like that. So definitely excited to see more events like that. You know, we saw Heroes of the Dorm do a scholarship tournament early on in their life, and I believe it was fairly popular at the time. I mean, I feel like Heroes' esports has always struggled a little bit, but I remember hearing a lot of hype about that, more so than I did for any of the big, you know, the regular esports tournaments like we see so much about for Overwatch. So hopefully that can get some traction and bring some publicity to a really nice organization, the EG Federation there. I know you work with them way more than I do or anything like that, but I just love what they do. They're a local company focusing on an industry I like, so anything to support them.
Yeah, exactly. And like, regardless of my affiliations with them, like, it has been like my MO since I, you know, decided to take esports and the esports industry and all that, like, more seriously than just playing games, is that, like, I think the goal is to get college esports, or to get esports more into the mainstream. And I think that the best way, the easiest way, the way that makes the most sense is through education. Like, best way to get people to understand what lacrosse is to have kids start playing lacrosse in high school. Like, I think that, like, you're not going to necessarily get people, like, you're not necessarily going to get people to care about esports by having it on TBS. I think that's a great way to do it. I think that that's a great step in the right direction. But, like, people who are older than us are not going to care about Counter-Strike if it's just on TBS after Big Bang Theory.
Right.
But they are probably going to care, at least in some way, if their, you know, son got a full ride to Robert Morris University for playing Counter-Strike. Like, and like,
right.
And I don't have the link in front of me, but I saw a link today. Like, there's a school in China that is offering competitive gaming as a major, as a full major. I can't imagine how, like, over applied for that major is going to be. I sent in my application.
Yeah, I'm going back to school. It's decided.
Yeah, it is decided. It is decided.
I knew you liked football.
Yes, I love football. Football. Actually, I don't even like that either. But last thing I want to talk about with the tournament talk before we get into our interview with Mangachu is just we had an interesting look at the power rankings from Gosu Gamer. So I'll go through real quickly what they are, and we'll talk about any sort of things that catch our eye, and we'll go from there. So number one, to the dismay of no one, Envious is number 1, Misfits number 2, Rogue number 3, Ninjas in Pajamas 4, number 5 is Fnatic, number 6 is Cloud9, number 7 is FaZe, number 8 is Reunited, number 9 is Lunatic High, and number 10 is Complexity. So, Death, there's a couple that stick out in my mind as kind of oddities in terms of ranking, but what is the sore thumb for you?
The sore thumb to me is Misfits still sitting at number 2. I guess there hasn't been a ton since the Overwatch Open to really drag them down. However, now if this is, and I think Lunatic's High's presence here is telling me that this has counted the APAC Premier.
Absolutely.
So I think Rogue should probably be above them. It just seems to me like they're the most clutch team in the biggest stages. So I don't see why you would not want to put them up there. Again, I agree that they're not above Envious. I just don't. I think they should be the top ranked EU team going forward. And I would definitely treat them as the favorites for any EU specific LAN event or anything along those lines. Not unbeatable like Envy seems to be on the NA side of things, but definitely a powerhouse and the clear favorite in my eyes. So that's the one thing that sticks out. But Ninjas also, Ninjas in Pajamas, really just continuing their climb. Number 4 across all regions is a phenomenal finish for them, and brings them in above even the number 2 NA team, which it's hard to disagree with, but it's still a little surprising.
Yeah, it is surprising. Not necessarily surprising. I think it's awe-inspiring almost that Ninjas in Pajamas has ascended like this. And to a similar extent, though, we've talked about them basically every week since they've became a team. But Cloud9 going down to number 6, like if you would have asked us about this, 3 months ago, it's like, do you think Cloud9 will ever be ranked number 6 in the world? We'd say absolutely not.
Yeah, I think that's just a byproduct of the roster changes,
sure.
Right? So
100%.
Yeah, it's the unknown factor. It's nothing to do with performance or anything like that. And judging by your copy paste job, this says power rankings. This isn't
I don't know.
Rankings.
I think I just wrote power rankings. It might be.
Oh, okay. So if it's their rankings and it's all done by computer or algorithm, I'm fairly certain. But if it is an actual power rankings, then this is just like what we're doing. If we were to sit here and run down a list and come up with a top 10, it would be pretty much the same thing, not based off of finishes, numbers, or equations. Both systems have their merits because, in my opinion, in sports, and I haven't seen anything to tell me that it's different in esports from regular sports. The eye test is more important than any stat. How they look. Do they look like they're, a force to be reckoned with, or are they squeaking by and just stacking up wins, but not dominating anybody or anything like that? Like, that makes a big difference. So
wasn't the whole movie Moneyball about how that line of thinking was an old, flawed technique?
I've never seen the movie Moneyball.
Actually, a surprisingly good movie, even if you don't like baseball. Check out Moneyball in theaters this Sunday. No, it's an old movie. It actually is really interesting.
Oh, I figured it was a new movie because there's a huge analytics wave.
It's
now
like
in regular sports.
It's like I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. But no, actually the movie is about the guy, the old GM for the Oakland Athletics, and how he took this analytical, get players who have a good ROI in terms of you're going to pay a small amount of money, but they're going to perform at a much higher caliber than that amount of money is. Or you're going to get young up and comers for a cheap price and tailor them instead of paying the multi-million-dollar contracts for the David Ortiz's of the world and the Alex Rodriguez's. And a lot of that has permeated into the culture of baseball now for a lot of teams. But yeah, no, I would imagine that it's a mix of both, because you can't a stat book is not going to win games, whether it's esports or whether it's traditional sports. At the end of the day, yes, there is an amount of almost intangible that is associated with these types of competitions for sure. But it is interesting, and I think this might be the first time that we've seen an Asia Pacific team on the power rankings. Lunatic High, I don't think we've seen Luxury Watch on here. I don't think we've seen any of those teams up here. It
was Luxury Watch. I thought maybe we saw at number 10.
You might be
definitely the highest we've seen any Asian Pacific teams make it into the top group here. But as they get more tournaments, it's going to be the case. This won't be the best because it's an algorithm and everything. It's solved. They're not going to play against each other enough for it to really give you a super accurate readout. So it'll always be, and it's the case with Hearthstone and stuff too, right? You never know how the guys that come in from the Asian region are going to stack up against the guys that we know and we see in the tournaments that we watch on a weekly basis. And it's, to me, one of the most fun things about them. And it's extra fun too in a shooter, I think, especially because the Asian region usually dominates. Yeah, I feel anyways. Maybe not. Maybe shooters is a bad example.
No, not in traditionally not in shooters, which is interesting.
Right. So it'll be really interesting to see. But if you come from StarCraft or anything like that, where they definitely dominate and they just run the table, it's nice to have that predetermined bad guy. I'm rooting against these guys because I'm sick of them. It's
just
nice.
rooting
I
against
don't
them
know.
because they don't have Pluppy
Right.
on their team.
I go well, then there's your way of thinking that nobody shoots, but nonetheless,
LeBron
it's no
James
less
effect.
entertaining, really.
True.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, and we're getting more of a taste of it as we go. You know, we talked about the league that's going on
Yeah, the
over
Apex
months and
League.
months, and Envy's there and Reunited's there.
Rogue.
So 2-0, and no, it's
Oh no,
Reunited.
not Rogue. Rogue was
Yeah,
Rogue won the other tournament. That's right.
right. Yeah, it was Reunited that was going there for a couple months with their new player whose name is escaping me at the moment. But so I'm really excited to see them play a little bit on stream over there, see their roster change in action. And, they're holding their own. 1-1 in the league is decent. You don't know who they played. If
It's
they played
12
against
weeks
Envy,
long,
you wouldn't be
honestly.
surprised.
Yeah,
right.
it's 12 weeks long. So really, I just brought this in just to get us a little taste to make it so we don't forget about the tournament, obviously.
Right.
But we'll definitely be covering more specifically some of the matches and stuff later on as the tournament progresses. But right now, it was really just to give us a taste of it. But I think the time's come, Death. I think the people have been waiting long enough. They've seen our stupid faces alone here for long enough. Let's move into our interview. So a little bit of a preface here. We recorded this interview last week with Mangachu. He was kind enough to join us on the show. Super great sport. But we'll be getting to that in just a second. And
if you're wondering too, why does the name Mangachu sound so familiar to me? It's because you'll notice with the last patch they put out a leaderboard for ranked play, so you can see who the top X players are in the world. I think you can see the whole top 500.
Yeah.
And when it launched, number 1 on the list, Mr. Mangachu. He's currently sitting at number 3. I believe it's Surefour took him down. Somebody else as well. They're well-known names, but
Scum.
It's funny too because I wonder if they would have bothered to overtake him had there not been a leaderboard. Because
True.
it's just seeing your name at number 5 on a list just tells you, well, you've got some work to do.
Yeah,
so
you
can be
got
at
a little
number
bit of
1,
work.
right?
Right.
And you don't know, obviously, the new team, everything like that we're about to talk about with Mangachu is going to, take a higher priority than his ranking. So, the guys with the established teams probably might have a little more time than somebody, working together with a new roster and trying to get established with their new org.
Yeah, but we got a lot of good info out of him, and you'll just have to wait and see it. So we're going to kick it over there for a little bit, and then we'll come back right at the end to close out the show like we normally do. But sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and listen to our great interview with the one, the only, Mangachu. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Highnoon Podcast. We are very privileged here today to have the one and only Mangachu from Tempostorm kind enough to join us. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. So thank you. First off, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, answer a couple of our questions, get grilled incessantly, and talk about some nonsense as well. So really appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So we like to start off these interviews. We ask the same question to everyone, and you actually have a little bit of a mark to reach here because we definitely have a best answer to this question. So it's unequivocal. But how did you originally get interested in competitive gaming, and esports more specifically?
Gaming, it goes back to like when Burning Crusade first came out. My dad has a friend who was like super into the game, and he showed me it, and I played on like this really old like 2004 Mac laptop. It took like 2 days to install it, and that was just like the start of things. And as time, I played WoW for like 4 months, and then my parents randomly found this game called Team Fortress 2, and we were still on Macs at the time, and TF2 for Macs didn't come out until like 2010, I believe. So there was like this really cheesy trailer for something called Crossover, which is an application that allows you to run PC apps on a Mac. That costed like $60. TF2 at the time was 20. So that was pretty much the start of things. We were going to do like a family night type thing. We would play some random game every like Friday or something. And we did that once. I destroyed them, to say the least. And we just didn't do it again.
Wait, you mean your family's also not professional gamers?
No, my mom plays WoW though.
Nice.
Yeah, I've raided with her a few times.
That's got to be a really cool experience.
Yeah, it was great, honestly. I played TF2, and I got into a community called nomnomnom.us, and they had these little community scrims where it was like, it varied from 6v6 to 8v8 to 12v12, just like for fun things every Saturday and Sunday night. And that was pretty much the start of things. I always played in those. I played in them weekly, and then I got banned from that community. I don't remember why. I was young and stupid.
I'm sure you don't remember why.
I honestly don't. If I would, I would have no problem going into it. I got banned for like making fun of an admin, and then it was only for a week, and then they said, "This guy's an idiot. Make it permanent." And then, yeah, I got perma-banned, which sucked, but you know. And then really old website, TF2 Lobby. I played in those, and I got on my first team. I believe it was called Surge Gaming. That was the first actual team that I played on, and we played in Evo a few times. And yeah, that was pretty much the start of it.
Nice. So just for reference, you were competing with playing a random match of Tony Hawk Pro Skater against a DJ at a boys' club in Europe. So I don't I don't know if anyone can ever. Enough. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone can ever come up to that story, but yeah,
I love that
that's
for
amazing.
2 times. Yeah, I love that 2 times in a row, though. I get the gloat because that's the second one that's been WoW is what got you.
Yeah. Everyone started playing.
I'm the WoW guy, and Blevins hates it.
Wow. But I can't believe that. That's actually insane.
Yeah. Well, moving us forward here a little bit, I'm just going to kind of skip over the next question. You kind of told us where your background was from competitive already. So just tell us a little bit about your name, Mangachu, where it came from and how you came up with that.
I didn't come up with it, honestly. I also from TF2. I can't remember the name for the life of me, but there was this person in this, it was the Fugs community server, FUGS, and we played on this map called Convoy, which is like 2 trains with like bridges, and it was Capture the Flag. It was terrible. It was such a poorly designed map. It was a community thing too, so it was all fun and stuff. And there was this guy named Mangachu, and everybody just started randomly changing the name to Mangachu, and I joined the server, and I was like, oh, I'll do that, I guess. And so I did that, and for the next like 2 hours, we would just run around with our names, and we would just say random stuff in the mic, and it was all fun and stuff. And then we changed our name to the character we were playing. And at the time, I was Pyro, so I should be named Pyro Mangachu. And I just stuck with it. I thought it was a cool name compared to what I had before. You know, there were like it was something with numbers in the name.
Yeah.
And I personally hate numbers in names. I don't know why.
Death blow.
But and I would do this thing when this was like before I even joined nomnomnom.us, but when I was in that community, every time I would change characters, I would change my name.
Mm-hmm.
So I switched to Spy. I was Spy Mangachu, and I would keep doing that, and then eventually I just got rid of the class name, and I just became Mangachu. He actually DM'd me on Twitter recently.
The original
Mangachu?
Yeah, he DM'd me like it was like 2 months ago. But he was like, "Is that Pyro Mangachu?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is really awkward." And he said, "Yeah, I'm not gonna ask you to change your name because I've like quit competitive or I've quit gaming, but it's pretty cool to see my name just all over Reddit for competitive stuff."
Yeah, hostile takeover of the name. I like it.
You're the one that made it big, kid. That actually is pretty awesome, and I might actually count that as your origin story. So that actually is pretty close to fighting a DJ in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
I have a feeling we'll be asking more people where their in-game names came from in future interviews. That's for sure.
It's a fun story, honestly.
Yeah, that was good. Better than I expected.
Yeah, that's a good one. So moving right along, this is a question that like I've been wondering ever since you said you're going to come on. So what did it feel like actually getting signed by Tempostorm? So was it like NBA or NFL like draft day where you're like waiting for the phone call and they're like, yeah, and for our 4th pick, we pick Mangachu to come to Tempostorm? Or was it just like an email from Raynad that just said !tempo in it?
The process was pretty interesting. We were like in the transition of like leaving Northern Gaming to just being like a free agent team at the time. This was like a little bit after Wolf left, so it was Bread Expert, Naptime, and I. And we were just keeping our options open, and we sent an email to Raynad, and he said, yeah, we're interested. And the plan was to join forces with the people from CLG, which is Yumas Tui, whose name is now Hui and Mini. And things just kind of like glued together, and we just became the team that we are now. To be under Tempostorm is honestly, it's an amazing feeling for me specifically. I've put in a lot of time into esports or like competitive gaming. I actually like on top of TF2, I've also played Smash a lot. I played Melee to a certain extent, and like the main thing that I succeeded in was Project M. I was like, when I put a lot of time into the game, I finished 10th on the power rankings for the one time that I actually like did well. But that was honestly in between the downtime of Overwatch 2. Like, I quit TF2, the last season was season 18 or 19, I believe. And like during that downtime, I just played Smash, and like it helped a lot with like my tiltiness. I used to tilt a lot, which it helps a lot with this, and like especially with this competitive format. Like I'm representing this org Tempostorm, you know. I don't want to be this rager that just tilts 24/7. I still do want to stream every once in a while, but like when things get serious and I'm playing with my team, which I love playing with, I'm very relaxed to a certain extent. Sometimes I get mad, but that's usually just because I'm playing poorly.
If that were the case for me, I'd always be mad.
Yeah. I couldn't be happier though being with Tempostorm. This is a great org.
Yeah, well, we're definitely been following you guys since Grouchy Desperados, and we're very excited to see you guys get signed. We both paid close attention to Hearthstone, at least for a little while, so we were very familiar with Tempostorm and Raynad and everything, and we carried a little bit of love over from that, and we're really hoping they got into the scene. So it was great to see them pick up a team we were already following. So congratulations to you. We get excited when we get $1 and $3 patrons, which is an awesome thing, but not quite the same as signing an esports contract for sure. To move us on a little bit here, though, we're going to talk a little bit more about the team specifically, now that we've gotten to know you a little bit. So can you provide some insight into the average weekly schedule for a pro Overwatch team? What you guys are, how much time you're spending in scrims versus reviewing VODs, things like that?
So we don't really have a set time for like going over VODs, which is something I would like to change in the future. But we usually end up scrimming between 4 to 6 hours every day, on top of the tournaments that we usually play. This week we're playing in the DreamHack qualifiers, so we only have one block scheduled for those days, and then it's like 6 hours of just sitting there waiting to play tournaments, maybe scrims in between matches. But if we don't have a tournament, it's usually 6 hour, 7 hour days with like a 1 hour break in between 1 or 2 scrims, and we're just playing the game the whole time. And then sometimes people go off and do their own thing. I stream another like 3 hours a day, maybe by myself. I just play solo queue, or I'm queuing with friends. And then there's the time that we put in to make content for Tempostorm. So pretty much our entire day is based around Overwatch.
Yeah, I had you on my friends list for a little while. It seems like that went away, and the friends list are so small, but I've also got Bread Expert on there too, so I see you guys constantly in scrims and stuff like that. So I was just curious, to what level. Obviously, it's got to be a lot, and but yeah, that's definitely a ton of scrims, so hopefully that kind of works paying off for you guys.
Yeah, it's a lot of game time. We're learning a lot as a team, so it's all about the grind, honestly, for Overwatch. It's a very young game. Nobody really knows what they're doing to a certain at the level that's going to be in like a year from now. So you just got to grind it out, learn everything as fast as you can.
True. And in that vein, so more specifically, like your tournament prep and strategy, how important do you think that map banning and map selection mid-match are to the outcome of the match, and can you provide some insight into like your guys' map map banning strategy or map banning theory or philosophy?
I think map banning is extremely important. If there are tournaments lately though that have been running like preset map pools, like well, it's not recently, but Gamescom had their own map set pool, and if we're doing something like that, we just look at the map list and we scrim nothing but those maps for like 2 weeks, or however long however much time we have. We just put in the time practicing those maps. If it's map bans, there's usually like 1 or 2 maps that people avoid. There are like, and other people use those as like the niche picks, like Volskaya. I hate that map personally, or like Route 66. It's a map that like Route 66 is the map that we put in, like we scrim every once in a while, but majority of the time it's an instant ban for us, just to give other teams some advice on our team. But yeah, like the ban lists are public to everybody, so you can just look at other tournaments. You can see what maps are they banning first, so we don't have to ban them. We don't have to waste our picks on that. So you can say like, random examples may not be accurate. Fnatic bans Watchpoint Gibraltar first against every team they play against. You can just look at that and think, okay, like we don't like that map either. Just avoid it. Let them do that. It honestly comes down to a lot, because actually somebody from Rogue, I think Rainforest, I don't know how to pronounce his name properly, he tweeted saying, when they lost to, I don't know the team name, they lost 2-0 to a Korean team, and they said, we just didn't play well from the very beginning, our map bans weren't right, they were horrible. So just like, it goes to that extent, which is crazy.
Yeah. Now, is it a group decision for you guys, or do you have like your captain makes those decisions on the fly?
Naptime is the one that he goes through the effort to actually like ban the maps, but all of us are sitting down, looking at the other team's map bans, thinking about what maps we are strong on compared to what they are strong on, and it's all a team decision majority of the time.
Excellent. Now, when we look at the meta specifically and what's going on in Overwatch at the moment, there's really this permanent presence of Zarya and Lucio in the meta game. And I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that. Do you think it's good for Overwatch as a whole, bad? And what would you do to maybe change these heroes to improve diversity?
Those two aren't really characters that like annoy me personally. Maybe Zarya Bubble's a little annoying, but like their design as characters isn't something that frustrates me. I could honestly say that like a character like Genji being in the meta 24/7. So the previous meta, I was pissed. I hate Genji. I wish Genji was not a character. If I could remove one thing, it'd be Genji. But Zarya and Lucio, they're very strong because of how much they can do. Lucio's speed amp is just unbelievably good. I don't really know how you can nerf Lucio, because if you nerf one thing, like he's already been nerfed and he's still this strong, like if you nerf him anymore, I'm pretty sure he's just going to get kicked off the meta. With Zarya, I would maybe reduce her max damage, because it's very easy to kill her bubbles. Maybe give the bubbles more HP and give it so, or not more HP, make it so it doesn't give her as much charge, I guess. Or like just decrease the max damage, because if she gets fed to 100 charge, she is unstoppable. I don't know what the exact number is, because apparently her left click is also a little bit of RNG. But her max damage is unbelievably strong.
Yeah, and it's important to note, if anybody didn't know, it's not a scale that makes sense with the charge. It's not like a 1-to-1. The percentage of charges and how much your damage is increased, it's not proportional. It gets more and more as you get closer and closer to 100. So she's really kind of almost underwhelming at that lower spot, but with it being so easy to get your charge up, she just does a crazy amount of damage right now. One more question here. Are there any heroes that you don't get to play in tournaments currently that you would count among your favorites, or that you wish would come into the metagame so you could show them off a little bit?
I'm a Torbjorn man at heart. I love Torb. I played a lot of him in season 1. Season 1, I ended up on Overbuff. I ended up tied for 2nd place with someone whose name was actually Torbjorn. Everybody hated that guy because he would only play Torb. Like you'd queue into Ilios and you'd see his name and you just groan and complain because you're just going to see this level 1 turret just sitting in the most useless spot, and you still end up winning. because he just owns apparently. I mean, he's ranked 2. This guy named Hydration ended up being ranked 1, but yeah, I am a huge fan of Torb, despite how bad he is. I've played him a bit this season. I was streaming yesterday and somebody asked me to play Torb, and we were down 2-0 on Koth, and I just said, whatever, we're done. I switched to Torb and we reverse sweep.
Nice.
And it was on Nepal. It blew my mind. I had no idea we would win that game. That was like Grandmaster too, and Torbjorn was it's the secret sometimes, you know. He's the sleeper pick. No one expects him, and when they see him, they just tilt.
It's been so long since they've had to fight against them, they forget how. In a way.
How mad do you think that other team is, though? Like,
they were so mad.
They had to be, because they're playing. First off, they get queued up against Mangachu, which already they're like, oh, okay.
Oh, I was on my Smurf.
Oh, you're on a Smurf. Okay.
I was on Fish Mully. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if they were a super fan, they know. Okay, we're getting queued up against a.
Yeah.
They knew they're getting queued up against a pro player. Then they go up 2-0, and they're like, oh man, I'm gonna be telling my buddies about this. I'm gonna tell my grandchildren about this. And then you just pull out the Torb and reverse sweep, just complete dream crush.
And I can vouch for that. They would have told everybody about it, because I may or may not have beaten Yogachi Desperado's team in ranked in the beta. And like, I think it was like 3-2. It was like, I don't know, there was like this 3-day span. I just couldn't stop queuing into you guys. It was really, really funny, but we ended up pulling out, and I think we were like 3-2 against you guys, and I still haven't shut up about it.
No, so I get a text every morning at 3 a.m. saying, hey, remember that time I beat Grouchy Desperados?
Boy, I wish I was streaming that day. So don't worry, I can't prove it, so you don't ever actually have to own up to it or anything like that.
All right, I've never lost.
Definitely never lost with Torbjorn, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, getting a little bit back on topic. If you're not used to the show, we pretty much go off on tangents about 90% of the show, and only like 10% is actual real content. So just. I don't know why people keep watching. It's a mystery to me. Yeah, we're shooting for the moon here. But can you tell us which players usually handle the shot calling duties for your team, and if not a specific player, is there a specific role or hero that you think is best suited for the shot calling role?
For our team, it's a mixture between Mini and Bread Expert. They're usually the ones that are like leading the fight. You know, Mini's going to call that he's charging. Bread Expert's going to call that he's amping his speed. It's usually the way most teams work. They like to have their Lucio main calling, because he's like the leader of like any engagement. Because you can't, like, if you're having a Lucio, you're not really going to be able to gauge without speed amp or beats or whatever. So most teams like to do that. We obviously have the mixture of the two, but I think it helps a lot with our Lucio being the main caller.
Yeah, I think that we've kind of thought that too. Be interesting if you're
I
like
threw that one in for me personally as a support player.
Just
like,
wants to know.
Yeah, and it's honestly my biggest weakness. Like I feel like I'm a strong Lucio player. I just can't really shot call, and I've been asked to almost every time I've joined a team as a Lucio player. It comes around a couple weeks after, and they're like, "So you want to start shot calling?" And I'm like, if I have to."
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it's to me almost the most frustrating thing to make a call and then like not have anybody listen to you. That's one thing that tilts me more than anything when I'm in a 6-stack. But moving on here, let's see. So as you and the rest of this new Tempostorm roster kind of work to get established in the tournament scene, are there any goals you've set yourself for the near future? Is it just win the tournaments, or do you have small goals in the intermediary time?
I mean, pretty much majority of our goal is just to be the best team in the world, just like every other team. We just got to put in the effort, reach that goal, beat teams along the way. I mean, we do have wins on like teams like FaZe. While the win on FaZe, well, the best of one is still a win in tournament. We won that Ghost Suit weekly. I don't remember who was playing. We beat Rise and a Korean team. I forget what their name was. Kongdu, I think. So like we do have wins on our belt. It's just beating like the top level teams is something that we haven't come to yet, and hopefully we will in the future.
Yeah, that was a really strong performance by you guys in that weekly. I just remember thinking it was really impressive how you guys played your game and it was really kind of before we've seen a little bit more Farah come back into the meta recently, but this was kind of before that really solidified and looked like something that was going to happen. So it just felt like you guys were playing your better heroes, what you thought you could do best, and you weren't so much worrying about the other team, and it kind of seemed to carry you guys even against some of the better matchups. So much so I actually predicted you guys as kind of like my long dart throw for who would win the Overwatch Open, and it was really unexpected because you weren't even qualified for it. So it was a really long odds prediction on my part.
Well, I mean, we weren't even a team for the qualifiers.
Right. Yeah,
So,
you guys got started up right after that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate timing, but
that weekly was one of your first events under the Tempo.
That was our second tournament as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time that we entered a team, we got third place, double eliminated by Spice.
Gotcha.
Just like in here, like messing around with chat. It's great. Oh, this is awesome. So let's get back on target. I can just edit out all this like laughing and nonsense. I won't, but I could. So how difficult is it for you to hide unique team compositions and strategies from other teams leading up to a tournament, besides spoiling them all on random podcasts during the week?
It honestly just comes down to like not running it in scrims. If we know that we're going to be playing a certain team in tournament, and we we usually just end up avoiding scrimming them. So like we had a pre-scrim for Complexity in for the Alienware Monthly, and this was like the day before. It was kind of short notice, but like because we were playing them in the groups, we canceled the scrim. We had to find another because like we don't want them to know what we're running.
Right.
And I mean, we did lose the set, but it did help us to an extent because like not a lot. Like Cloud9 is also a team that runs Farah, but I pulled it out I think in that set, and it did win us a map. So like stuff like that can go a long way.
So what you're saying is that if need be, you will go full Mean Girls on another team and just cancel.
Yeah.
Awesome. I would expect no less. No, it makes a lot of sense. Like you want to be cordial, but I feel like everyone has to like know that, right? Like everyone has in the comp scene has to like understand like why you don't want to do that, right? Or have you had any like interactions where people are like, "Oh, dude, like why are you doing that? Like it's not kosher."
I mean, there are teams that like complain about it, like. Before Gamescom, I got subtweeted by Grego about canceling scrims, but I mean, he was just frustrated because like a bunch of teams have canceled scrims before the LAN, which is like completely reasonable.
Yeah.
But nobody has like directly complained at us for it. Other teams have like NA apparently has this huge rep of just canceling scrims randomly for whatever reason. Apparently, we just don't show up sometimes. But yeah, there aren't really teams that just like yell at each other for canceling scrims. Like majority of the time, it's pretty understanding. We just cancel.
Yeah, it feels like it should be understood by everyone at least that like you at least understand why it's happening. Like whether you agree or not that you want to actually like put yourself at that competitive advantage or not. I guess that is to be argued, but like you can at least understand why.
Well, moving on here, I wanted to ask as we get closer and closer to the release of Sombra, I think we're at 87% on the Moment in Crime website at the moment. I'm curious what you do as a team to get ready for new heroes. How did you guys handle Anna, and do you have a plan specifically for how you'll test her or incorporate Sombra once she hits?
I mean, we don't really have any information on a toolkit. We just know that she's a character. So, I mean... if she's like a support, we'll probably just play in the PTR whenever it comes out and just grind that out. That's what we did with Anna. Like I was still under Northern Gaming at the time when Anna was released, so we actually had a scrim blocked with Fnatic. I don't think they were Fnatic at the time. It might have been Hubris or whatever their name was, but we were originally planning on playing on live. But because Anna got released on the same day on the PTR, we said, screw that, and we just played like 3 hours on the PTR and just tested her out. This was like before Triple Team became a thing, so you would see flying Genjis just one-shotting everybody. And you have no idea how tilted I was but
I can imagine.
That's awesome.
it was not
Genji's
enjoyable
favorite.
for me. Other people had a great time. I'm not going to deny that. Everybody had fun. The Genji specifically. But me personally, no. I hated it.
That's awesome. So I've got at least a couple of like garbage / throwaway questions. So you've made it through the hot seat, but the one question, this is more important than all the other questions for me at least. Where did the name Grouchy Desperados come from?
I wish I could tell you.
Oh no! This is why I scheduled this interview. This is all I wanted
the
to
only
know.
question you needed to know.
Yeah, I haven't even been recording.
You just started now. This whole thing is pointless until this question.
Exactly.
I joined this team. I was originally on Prime, and then I got cut for not having a big enough hero pool. I also went to a Smash tournament, but that's irrelevant. Yeah, I joined this team pretty late into its existence. The only person actually that was on that roster when I joined it that's on this team is Bread Expert. Everybody else has been cut, honestly. Dump Truck, who is currently teamless, great player though. Chronic, who's on Method right now. Ratsy, who I think quit the game, and Technic, who I also think quit the game. Those other 4 people or 5 people were on the roster, and all that's left now is Bread. So you should get an interview with him and just only record that question.
Yeah, that's
you will get the answer you're looking for.
I'm reaching out to him right now. I need to know about we're going to have the Grouchy Desperado interview, and then I'm going out. I'm done. That's it.
Well, while he frantically tweets at Brad Expert, I'll move us on to some of our patron questions here. A. Smith was wondering, where do you see Farah in the meta currently, and what do you think could be done to boost her playability at the pro level if you think that's needed?
I think she's at a pretty solid spot. Zenyatta isn't as strong as he was before. Mercy getting her buff only makes Farah stronger, so we get to see more of her, which is nice. And like with characters like Mei being a thing, Farah just instantly becomes stronger. Like the main comps that people like to run around lately are Mei Reaper and Cloud9, who has done amazing with this comp. It's Anna, Mercy, Farah, Hanzo, Winston, or Zarya, Reinhardt. They have the 2 mobile DPS characters that just say "screw you" to the wall and just fly over it or climb over it, and
Right.
It works. It works wonders because they have no hitscan characters that can just shut down Farah other than Anna. But I mean, Anna's hit as a dot, so it doesn't do that well. She's pretty solid. She does see a lot of play. I think she could see more, but I'm a little worried next patch because Widow's getting buffed. So,
Yeah, and we're currently in kind of one of the McCree lightest metas that we've seen in a while. So that definitely opens up a bit of a door for her as well that might close in the future.
Yeah, and had another patron question from Malcarade, and you kind of led a little bit of insight into this, saying that you got cut from another team for not having a big enough hero pool. But what do you think is better for a player at the level that you're at the professional level? Is it better to specialize in 1 or 2 characters, or maybe just one role, or is it better to be kind of a jack of all trades at the pro level?
Oh, definitely getting a bigger hero pool. Like I at that time, I only played 2 characters. I played Junkrat and played Farah. Everything else that I played, maybe Torbjorn too in there once in a while. Everything else I played wasn't good. When I first the day after I got cut, I did nothing but play McCree for a week and a half. At the very beginning, my McCree accuracy was like 33%. So I'd hit 2 shots out of my full clip, and that was, that isn't very good. At least for my expectations. So I did nothing but play it for a week, and like around now, I average like 58. It could be better, but it's not bad. But if anybody has the free time to just put an endless amount of time into a character to get them all up to that high level, you're going to succeed as a player. Just like the more characters, the better.
All right, and to wrap things up from our patron questions here, any tips for new teams that are starting up or any areas that they should focus on in their practices and scrims early on? This question is from Afterthought.
I I'd say just work on communication. Communication goes a long way. If everybody knows what you're doing, it's going to be a lot easier to point out mistakes or figure out flaws with your team, whether it be with certain players or certain roles or certain characters. People just may not be playing well as this hero, so you may want to have them play another one. Yeah, I think communication is a pretty big factor for a lot of teams. So if that is like one of the big things that you work on, your team will succeed pretty quickly.
Yeah, one of the things that always impresses me the most when I'm watching tournaments is the disengages. That's something I've never been able to get one of my teams to come anywhere near as close as you guys do at backing out of a fight when you hear the wrong ultimate get, from the other team get cast or something like that. The way you guys just melt into the background and disappear is really impressive. And kind of the way I would answer that question is work on getting out of fights you can't win, or just delaying an initiation and staying safe and as a full 6 and not dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that just comes out of communication. Lucio calls disengage, pops speed amp, S key. Get the hell out of there.
Yeah, could you tell that to all of my my ranked play teammates, please? Can I just get that clip and just play that over?
You have the file. I mean,
that is true. No, I stopped recording after you said you didn't know where the Grouchy Desperados came from. So. Yeah. Okay. Well, so I've got one last question, and it's a garbage throwaway one. So I'm putting you on the spot.
Right.
If you had to pick a Halloween-themed Overwatch skin to come out, who would it be, or what would it be, and who would it be for?
Ooh, that's a hard one.
This is the best question we've asked the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's in the garbage throwaway section.
Yeah, that's a good question, honestly. I'm looking forward to the Halloween thing. I love the skins. I've collected everything for Pharah. I've collected everything for Torb. Anything for those two characters. I don't know what specifically, but as long as there's a skin for either of those heroes, I'm happy. Something like, I don't know. I was going to say Pumpkin Torb, but that wouldn't really work out. The little short guys.
Roadhog. I just want his belly.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. That'd be great.
But that's not even the best. That's not even the best Roadhog skin you've come up with, Death.
Oh, Tutu Roadhog? Ballerina Roadhog?
Ballerina Roadhog would be pretty sick.
That'd be amazing.
I want to see
I like that.
Mummy.
He's too easy to skin, I think.
Yeah, there's just so many good options for him. I don't know. I saw the Witch Mercy in the comic. That'd be pretty cool.
Everyone wants. That's what everyone wants. I hope that they don't make it just to make everyone mad.
It's Witch Anna.
It's Witch Anna. It's Witch Anna, which is just her without makeup on. Oh, Fots shired.
Oh my.
Okay, Mangachu. Well, I want to be mindful of your time. We really appreciate you having you on the show. Are there any shout outs or sellouts or anything that you want to leave us with?
Shout outs to Tempo, my org. Shout outs to my team. Shout out to Nap Time, who is my only teammate in the chat right now, I think. And look at the viewer list. No, we got Brett Expert and Dvex, manager and teammate.
Oh man, Brett Expert's
shout outs to
in
my
here?
stream. Yeah. He's just not talking, I guess. Shout outs to my stream, Mangachu_. Shout outs to my Twitter, @Tempo_Mangachu_. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, Manga. Well, thank you so much again for being on the show. We'd love to have you back on anytime you want. Feel free to stop on by or tweet at us or just get it back to us, and we will definitely bring you back if you'd like.
Anytime, man. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much, man. All right, so... Oh, now we're back.
Pull to me.
I pulled to you. Man, I wish I would have finished the whole episode. But we are back, guys. I was there the first time for that episode, and I enjoyed watching it a second time, honestly.
I still can't listen to my own voice on a recording, no matter what.
I can, but apparently I can't look at my own face, or by that I mean literally couldn't because I'm an idiot. So for all of you watching that were watching live in the chat, it was me the whole time that was asking half of the questions. So again, huge thanks to Mangachu. I know he was here. I know a lot of his chat is here, so thank y'all for that. But that's gonna be the show, guys. Death, do you have any last minute, last second shout outs, sellouts, anything like that?
No, nothing at the moment. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Just like you said, big thanks to Mangachu. Might be number 3 on our leaderboards now, but will forever be number 1 in the Highnoon podcast heart, I should say, since he was our first ever pro player guest. So it was a big deal for us, and I hope he had a good time. And it sounded, at least at the end when we talked to him after, like it might not be his last appearance on the show. But I know he also was expressed interest in sharing the spotlight with some of his other teammates too. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, and we'll let you know if we get anything scheduled down the line.
Yeah, I have some other non-pro player interviews that I've been lining up. Got some stuff down the line too, so that should be interesting. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be it. Normal sellouts, shout-outs, and stuff. Follow us over on Twitter at Highnoon Podcast. Be sure to check out all the links and everything you could ever want in the entire world over at highnoonpodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter. Check us out on iTunes. Please, guys, go over and sub to us on YouTube. Oh, yeah. SoundCloud, Stitcher, all that good stuff. You can check out my personal Twitter over at @the_Blevins, and Deathblow can get out his calculator and tell us what his Twitter is.
At D3ATHBL0W. It's Deathblow, but the E is a 3 and the A is a 4. Or those O is a 0. Yep, I even got it.
Get your calculators out, boys.
3 instead of an E, 0 instead of an O.
Yes, there's that. And, guys, also, for those listening in podcast land, you can always check us out live every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern over at twitch.tv/theblevins. If you guys are listening live for the first time, you can go up in the upper right-hand corner, hit that follow button, and you'll be notified every time the show goes live. And when we do cool other videos like a loot box opening, that's going to be happening in a couple seconds. But let's close out the show like we normally do with a thanks to Creation Esports, a thanks to Matcherino, and a thanks to Adam Hoek, who did the cool outro music that you're about to hear in just a couple of seconds. But the only other thing I want you guys to answer me, or to know, or to, I don't even know how I do it, but it's Highnoon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
Guys, think at the end, stick around for the loot box opening. Okay, bye.